जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भव तुमे जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भव तुमे जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय रुक्मिणीदार कदीश रुक्मिणीदार कदीश रुक्मिणीदार कदीश जय रुक्मिणीदार कदीश जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य सेवर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु शील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन जू की जय। श्री श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री श्री नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री द्वारका धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदायिनी वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। पतित पावन श्री गौरांग महाप्रभु श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। निताई गौर परमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada की। श्री गुरु वंदना। हमारे गुरुदेव के चरण कमल ही एकमात्र साधन है जिनके द्वारा हम शुद्ध भक्ति प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। मैं उनके चरण कमलों में अत्यंत भक्ति एवं श्रद्धा पूर्वक नतमस्तक होता हूँ। उनकी कृपा से जीव भौतिक क्लेशों के महासागर को पार कर सकता है तथा कृष्ण की कृपा प्राप्त कर सकता है। मेरी एकमात्र इच्छा है कि उनके मुख कमल से निकले हुए शब्दों द्वारा अपनी चेतना को शुद्ध करूं। उनके चरण कमलों में अनुराग ऐसी सिद्धि है जो समस्त मनोरथों को पूर्ण करती है। वे मेरी बंद आँखों को खोलते हैं तथा मेरे हृदय में दिव्य ज्ञान भरते हैं। जन्म जन्मांतरों में वे मेरे प्रभु हैं। वे प्रेमा भक्ति प्रदान करते हैं और अविद्या का नाश करते हैं। वैदिक शास्त्र उनके चरित्र का गान करते हैं। हे गुरुदेव, हे प्रभुपाद, करुणा सिंधु तथा पतित आत्माओं के मित्र, आप सबके गुरु एवं सभी लोगों के जीवन हैं। हे गुरुदेव, हे प्रभुपाद, मुझ पर दया कीजिए तथा मुझे अपने श्री चरणों की छाया प्रदान कीजिए। आपका यश तीनों लोकों में फैला हुआ है। जगत गुरु शीला प्रभुपाद की।
What's that saying?
That is, you know, at the, talking. No, no. At the end of your lecture, glorify temple construction.
Ah, okay.
So maybe you can hear some pastime of Shri Prabhupada on temple construction.
Construction.
Otherwise, there is no time. There is no time.
Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari
Kunja Vihari
Vihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Ba Girivana Dari Jaya Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Astatara Satasri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
On behalf of ISKCON Dwarka, we would like to once again welcome His Grace Shruta Kirti Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, thank you.
He's a glorious disciple of Shri Prabhupada. He has personally served him, and he's an ocean of divine pastimes from Shri Prabhupada. And again, go on hearing and hearing and hearing from him. And today we are really blessed that Prabhuji is personally present here. And along with him, his glorious wife Shruta Mataji is also there. And we are very blessed by her presence as well. And also we have Kusa Mataji. She's also Shri Prabhupada's disciple. And today, three great personalities, great Vaishnavas, stalwart Vaishnavas are amongst us. So let's welcome them once again by chanting.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shruta Kirti Prabhuji ki
Hare Krishna.
Kusa Mataji ki
Hare.
Shruta Mataji ki
Jai.
Bhaktivinoda ki Prabhupada ki
Yes. Hare Krishna. I'm here because of Prabhu here, Mogalila Prabhu. He saw me in Mayapur, and thousands, tens of thousands of devotees in Mayapur, but he was one of 2 or 3 that approached me. He has a great attraction to Srila Prabhupada. So we are very, very fortunate. He's your temple president here. Yeah. All good things will come to people who have love for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada has love for Krishna. So our business, Prabhupada said, I tell one little story so often, at Mexico City, 1975. Most of us, Prabhupada's disciples, were anywhere from 17 to 25, some outside, but most, 90%. But when Krishna consciousness went to other countries, particularly when it went to South America, the children would join, 17, 18, and then their parents would join. They were pious, simple, pious people. And so they would join. One lecture Prabhupada gave, he was saying how important it is at the time of death to remember Krishna. Everything we do in this Krishna consciousness movement is to bring us to that one point. You know, New Dwarka, Los Angeles, was a very special place. Prabhupada would tell me little things. He never sat me down for 10, 15 minutes and gave me a class, but he would give me these little 30-second, 1-minute inspirational messages. So and they usually came in the afternoon after lunch. Mornings were busy. Mornings were busy doing things, but in the afternoon, he would have his lunch, he would take a short nap, and then afternoon was his personal time. Like you, we all have our personal time. You can read Prabhupada's books, do bhajans. He did the same thing. You know, he gave himself his personal time. Not that 24 hours a day he was trying to manage 100 temples, 5,000 disciples who were writing him letters, asking him questions. No, he took time for his bhajan. So one afternoon, I walked in, just offered obeisance, and he just looked at me. He said, ultimately, you have to fly your own airplane. We all know that expression. Hey? But I walked in and he said it to me. And that was all he said. I offered obeisances and I left. But this is it. Ultimately, we have to do it ourselves. You can have the most wonderful spiritual master. I just read it this morning. Prabhupada said, you can have the most wonderful guru, pure devotee guru, but if you don't do the work, he can't help you. That's the other part he uses. Fly your own airplane, and he also talks about the birds. You know, the birds flying in the sky, the flock of birds. They fly in formation. There's a reason, everything that's going on. The lead bird, he's directing. Everyone else is within the wind flow, cuts down wind resistance. That's why we fly together. We're supposed to cut down each other's wind resistance, not make more for one another. Sometimes we make more disturbance. We like hurricanes. You know, I like that example too. I've analyzed, hurricanes. We've been having lots of big ones. Here, I guess cyclone, you say, right? Cyclone? Yeah. Hurricane, same thing. But if you know the science of them, the strongest winds are just outside of the eye, not at the edge. The strongest winds are right at the center, and then, of course, it becomes less. But inside the strongest winds, it's completely still. Even the birds fly in there, those flock of birds, if they're intelligent enough, they stay right inside the eye, because you can't. As soon as you move outside, you get slammed. They found, I read one thing, they found a chair 20 miles away. One tornado, 20 miles, it threw it. We talk about that Maya, how there's the throwing, right? The throwing energy. Maya throws you. But when I was with Prabhupada, I felt very much like I was right in the eye. Everything else was havoc. Prabhupada was like we see our GBC body. We say they put out fires a lot. We want to get past that where the fires are gone, and then you can start actually building, much building. But Prabhupada also did that. He put out fires as he traveled around. He wasn't going to let anything diminish in his presence. That's what I say, 14 times around the world. He did it for many reasons. One of them was to always inspire his disciples. Keep them in that pattern. Keep them inside of the hurricane. You know, he would see as you wandered. Personally, he said, if you traveled with him, you got to see what a spiritual master does, how he deals with his disciples very personally. That's why I said he would just give me little nudges. He would know what I was up to. He knew what I was thinking all the time. If he wanted to. Thankfully, he wasn't thinking what I was thinking all the time. But he had that ability to always know what I needed. So he would tell me different little things, and that was it. But it was always just to give a little nudge back on course, because you start wandering to a very dangerous spot. You know, you think you're just wandering, but no, you're going right into the hurricane. You know, you're leaving that protection. You're leaving the leader. I say, Prabhupada, he says, you have to fly your own airplane. But, you know, I pray, I want my co-pilot. I still have no idea how to fly. But I've watched Prabhupada so many times. What he does, it's very simple. Just follow, he calls it the, he has different names for it. Of course, it's just what is it? Just a normal program. But it was very, very specific. You're here at class. I saw the same amount of devotees here at Mangalartik. Very good. This is the program Prabhupada gave us. This is the business of these temples, is to show what the program is. When Prabhupada traveled, we would sometimes go to a place, no temples, just 2 devotees to help out around, staying in a cottage somewhere. And as soon as he got there, he would say, what's the program? And we'd say, oh, what do you mean? What program? We didn't know what program. What do you mean, He'd say, what's the program? And then the people inviting, well, you know, we're going to bring, you know, we're going to have this teachers coming and this. No, no, no. Now, what are you doing? He said, class. It didn't matter. It wasn't a house. There's no such thing as a house and a temple. Everywhere he was a temple, because he had the program. If you don't have a program, even this temple's just a house. You know, if no one's coming to the program, then there's no program, right? That's what he says. So this was Prabhupada's thing. It's a very simple thing. And you just keep flapping just flap the wings. But you've got a lot of support, because you see others, I'm not alone. You know, Prabhupada, he was there. Like I said, he was always telling me, you know, if we slept, you know, at least a dozen times while I was with him, he called me in the room. Why are they sleeping? That's not our program. There's one thing that's not in our program, it's sleeping. It's a necessity. I was saying in Mayapur, it's to the devotees yesterday, but right in Mayapur, it was right there in his bedroom. Has everyone been to Mayapur here? Who's been to Mayapur? Shame. Got to get a big charter and all go to Mayapur. Mayapur, we were there the other evening. 3 Harinams going on within our grounds. This is what Prabhupada created. We don't have to go out into the city to do Harinam. We can just sit at our home, sit out front of our home in Mayapur now, chant. Everybody comes to hear the chanting. There was the Russians, they were doing Harinam, their style. Then there was the Chinese, Samaruchi. Anyway, but this is what Prabhupada has created, you know, and this is what's getting created here. You know, it's very nice. We have this. Prabhupada said, whatever Krishna gives. It was right here in India. When I came in the 70s, it was austere. You know, a very austere place. Now not so austere. You have to learn to do austerities as well. You know, when we came in the 70s, we had plenty of austerity. I had malaria 3 times, jaundice, dysentery was just a way of life. You just dealt with it. But it's not like that. But it's austerity that actually makes things happen. It's what gives you inspiration. So I did want to speak about, I was here last year. I was here just at the beginning of your marathon. Was I here for that? No, that was, no. It was about a year ago. But I see it's getting bigger. And I love the, your method you're using to involve everyone in the community. It's not a Mogalila's temple. You know, he's here now, a few years, he'll be off, be taking sannyas, traveling all around the world. But it's your temple. Huh? We know, of course, it's Rukmini Dwarkadish's temple. But it's for everyone. So we can fly together and get out of this place. Because your India is falling apart. It's not like it was in the 70s. You know, Bengal, you still see a lot of culture in Bengal, Vaishnava culture. All those people come, all buses, thousands. I feel so fortunate to this day. Just, so this is what happens. You do a little bit of service for Krishna, for your spiritual master. That's all I did. But it was a long time ago. So now I'm an old person that did service a long time ago. So they make a nice aisle. You can go up. You know, you bump a few people. But there were 20,000 people there just wanting to see the Panchatattva and Radha Madhava. And when I walked outside the Panchatattva extension, there was a line. It just went like this and this. Literally thousands of people just wanting to offer a flower to Prabhupada. Offer obeisances in front of Lord Nrsingadev. This is what we're creating. This is what Prabhupada created. And we're all part of it now. And I hear Prabhupada's coming very soon. He's bigger. I always, when I see it, he's very small. I said to Prabhu, when are you getting Prabhupada? Big Prabhupada. He said, Gaur Purnima, you're looking. Yes, Gaur Purnima. Srila Prabhupada. Oh, did no one know that? Wasn't a secret. Oh, Prabhupada exposed it. Don't blame me. Wasn't my fault. Yes, I'm very happy to hear that. We're probably going to be in Vrindavan, but I also know Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Like I said, see, look what Prabhupada did. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I said to Prabhu, I said he's like Krishna. He just turns up everywhere. Every festival he's there. You know, he's there at the Abhishek, he's there at the extension, he's there at the Sudarshan Chakra going up, he's there at the opening of this temple, that temple. That I just saw him here, and there he's here. Like he's changing. And then he distributes all of Prabhupada's books. I mean, he's doing in India just what Prabhupada wanted. Open zillion temples, and don't forget the books. They're also temples. Prabhupada said the books, we know, they're Krishna. So when the book starts out, it's a temple. I mean, it's the deity. Prabhupada said it's the deity. You just hand it to someone. You're giving them Krishna. In the form, their touch, they feel. That's what he said. They just take a book, they've made advancement. Because you've given them Krishna. And then if they open it, then you're opening Krishna. Then it becomes the Shastra. Then they can make some real advancement. I was in Brazil 10 years ago or so, and there was a family there, husband, wife, 3 children. And they had been there not that long, just a year. So I talked to the husband, the father, and he told me, he said, I came because of Prabhupada's books. He says, I got one 20 years ago. He was young, no children, no marriage, 20 years ago. He said, and it sat on the shelf. He said, but, you know, tattoos have become, you know, and in South America, everybody, men, women, you see tattoos all over. Argentina is, so tattoos, very big. So he wanted one. And of course he saw like Beckham, what's his name, you know, bend it like Beckham, the footballer, Beckham. So he saw the Sanskrit, Beckham has Sanskrit. So he wants Sanskrit. He remembered the book. It's got these funny letters in it. So he opens the Bhagavad Gita. He starts reading it, looking for what he, the words he wanted to use. And then he became a devotee. Took his whole family with him. This is the power of purity, the power of Shastra, the power of the pure devotee giving it to us. I was going to come and tell the whole puffed rice story, but because it was just, we have some time, yeah. And then, Kusa, you can, but yeah, I just got a copy of a video while I was in Canada last year. See, this is all we do. We just stir up nectar. This is the business for devotees. You go out, you preach, you cook for the deity, whatever you want, but then you have to come and churn up the nectar. So Prabhupada, I always remember traveling, what would he say? They say, Prabhupada, you come? He said, yes, wherever I go, he said, I just give milk. This was the cow's business. It gives milk. He said, wherever you bring me, I'll give milk. So he was giving nectar. Huh? That's milk means nectar. That is the nectar. Sweet. So this is our business. And to share it. And when you do it, the most wonderful thing happens. You get more. You get more. You get more of the nectar. So you just keep sharing and sharing. Like I said, all constantly. Prabhupada said, I hate sleep. He said, whenever I go to lie down, I think I'm going to waste my time. He said, there's so much to do. He said, I hate it, because he felt he was wasting so much valuable time. And then he would just lie down like a child, completely innocent, with no guilt, no anxiety, resting for Krishna. But that feeling is also there. The feeling is there, but it doesn't mean you act foolishly. But we think like that. Very rare occasions, sometimes I think like that. I don't want to stop. Not very often, but it happens. Prabhupada said, even in this material world, like what are the things they say now, like pass it, play it forward, they have all these things, do something nice for someone. They're so expert in Kali Yuga now. I even seen there's like a card, like your credit card thing. You can just flash it, pay somebody else's bill as they're buying their coffee and, doing them a favor. But you know what? Prabhupada said, you do that, you feel good. That feeling good, he said, very small feeling of what it feels like to serve Krishna. You feel good. That's what we used to always, when I was a kid in Krishna consciousness, we always talked about the water and the hoof print of a calf. Material enjoyment was compared to water in the footprint of a calf to the ocean of transcendental nectar. So imagine, he says that is, and it does feel good. I mean, if I let somebody take a parking spot, looks older than me or something, I feel good. I did something nice. That's what we want to do that. We want to do it for Krishna. And when we serve others, it's for Krishna. And when we give them Krishna. So things are growing here. And it means you're pleasing their lordships. There's also Prabhupada's measurement of how things are going in a temple. He knew how things were going in a temple, but he liked to do something practical to have the example for others. He always knew when to tell me, bring me Raj Bhog. He would only tell me to bring it. Every time I brought it to him, he didn't like it. So never like in New Dwarka, if they're cooking nice, he would say, I'll eat Raj Bhog every day. No, that's not, because Raj Bhog means ghee. Opulent. Prabhupada said there's two kinds of prasadam. Opulent and, what was the other one? Sumptuous. Thank you. Sumptuous. Prabhupada's use of English language is just wonderful. Even the word sounds sumptuous. It sounds like you want to eat the word. So, opulent, he says, means ghee and sugar. Yes, write that down, because you're not allowed to touch either of them. No ghee, no sugar for you, Brahmach. He said that's for the deities. ghee and sugar. Lots of ghee, lots of sugar. But he said for the devotees, we eat sumptuous. He sees it's very, very tasty. Must be first class. Told me. He said, prasadam in the temple should be good, so good, no one even thinks about going outside to eat. Not that we just eat, what do we call a grub, you know, some brown, mushy thing. You don't even know what it is, what family, whether it's plant, you don't know if grain, what it just... No, Prabhupada said, sumptuous. This year we're going to have the festival, Los Angeles. We have Prabhupada festival every year on the end of May. So this year they're bringing in Prabhupada's cooks. All of Prabhupada, as many as they can get. You should also go. Kusa also, she cooked for Prabhupada in Hawaii. She'll maybe tell you some of those stories. Might tell you how she got chastised. They're always the favorites, but I won't say anything. So, yes, tasty. But you figure, I cooked for Prabhupada in his cooker. Now, his cooker, he would eat from, and maybe 3 of us would eat from that cooker. Now, everything in there had a total of, you know, maybe 2 tablespoons of ghee. But that was going over 3 people, counting putting on chapatis. So little ghee Prabhupada had every day. And of course we have our feast days and all as well. But he said sumptuous, prasadam should be sumptuous. And I cooked for Prabhupada a lot. I used his cooker probably more than anyone. And he always liked it. He never complained. But he would ask for the Raj Bhog. And then he would taste the dal. It was always the first thing. And he would say, this dal tastes like mud. You know, and then the chapatis, he'd break the chapati because, but it was, he knew the deities were not being taken care of nicely. They weren't eating nicely. But what that meant is that nothing was going on properly in the temple. Didn't matter. You could be out doing Harinam every day. You could be making the floors sparkle, be nice to guests. But if you don't take care of Rukmini Dwarkadish, the foundation, it's their temple. Nothing else is going to work properly. You start right at the beginning. We say charity begins at home. You have to take care of their lordships. It's personal. Everything is personal. And we're coming impersonalist. I actually had a little bit, you know, I was a Catholic boy. We always said God was a person. They didn't have a picture of him because they didn't know what the person, but we would say, God, I grew up thinking God was a person, and I would talk to him, I would, you know, complain to him, like we do. But personal. They say when he saw the plate of prasadam on the table, as we're walking by, he's going into the garden, but it's just there, no one's around. He said, who has left the prasadam crying on the table? He made it, it is person, everything is person. So he said to the dog, he said, dog is a person, because it has personality. A person doesn't mean human. Person means you have a personality, and you're a spirit soul just like everyone else. We would say everything is person, person, person. New Dwarka, he rings the bell. Afternoon, he has white tile floor. We didn't have marble. It was a white tile floor. And in marble. Just checking. And he, because I know the walls aren't. He called me in and I sat down. I offered obeisances and sat down, and I'm looking at him. He's right on the other side. And he says, do you see that? Prabhupada would see things. You know, he saw Narada Muni come to kirtans. He saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur say he was at the kirtan. He would say, did you see? You know. Later on, he never said that. He knew he didn't see. But early on, 72, he asked Jamuna once, did you see? You know, Narada Muni. No problem. But he saw when they came to these special things, you know. So when he said, did you see that? I'm thinking, I thought maybe there's somebody next to me that I'm supposed to recognize, you know. Maybe it was Yamaraj, you know. And then he said, there. And he's pointing, there, he said, there's a bug next to you. It was a bug. It wasn't an ant. Big as an ant. It was a tiny black bug. He said, I've been watching him for an hour. He said he hasn't moved. He said, I think he's hungry. I'm just sitting listening because I don't know what's... He says, you go to the other room, Prabhupada's bedroom, he had little Jagannath deities. They're always dressed every day, taken care of by the pujari ladies. He said, grab the flower from Jagannath. He said, and you put the bug on the flower. He said, and then you bring him outside and put him in the garden. He saw that it was suffering. He wanted to alleviate it. It was a person. Huh? He's as good as you or me. Just another person struggling in this material world. You know, we have our dhoti, our kurta, our tilak. But if our minds, our hearts, our efforts aren't in serving Guru and Krishna, then what's the difference between you and the bug? Prabhupada would say that, huh? On the morning walk. He would look at the bird poo, the bird poo, one spot under the tree. He'd say, what does that mean? Who knows? You see on the ground, under the tree, lots of bird poo. It means that bird has a home right there. That's where he goes every night. He goes out in the day, he works, brings back food for his family, does some repairs on the house if it needs it. He's just like me. I was doing the same thing. I was, you know, painting the house, hosing down the driveway. His bird poo, I had to hose that down. But he's saying he's just like you. He's no different. Doesn't even weigh a pound. A little tiny spirit soul beating the heart like 500 times a second. Faster than you can beat your heart. You'll die if your heart beats that fast. But he's doing it, that little person up in the tree. So if we're not endeavoring to become Krishna conscious, we're just like the bird. That was his point. You know, he's doing the same thing, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And he said, when does he build that nest? You know, always look at Prabhupada, because you'd think he's looking for some really esoteric response. No, he was looking for a very common sense response. He builds a nest when his wife's pregnant, you know. You have to put the children somewhere. Just practical. He has intelligence. You know, what do scientists say? They put everything up to instinct. You know, no, there's intelligence there. You see these 3-year-old children playing the piano, and that's not instinct. What is that? Previous birth, you know. So, what time are we going to? 9:30? Oh. Yeah. All right. So I was going to tell this one story, and then my god sister can talk, because I just saw the video today, and it actually inspired me. And it happened to me. It was 1975. And I mentioned Prabhupada in Mexico City. So the old lady said to Prabhupada, what happens if I can't remember you at the time of death? I remember Krishna at the time of death. Because it's a challenge. I just saw my godbrother. I didn't help. I was there as he was dying a couple of weeks ago. Same age as me. He was Pujari. May as well talk about him a little bit. Svatantra. We were together in Hawaii in the 70s. He was a big book distributor. Distributed lots and lots of books. And then in 1980, and he was Pujari for the Panchatattva in Hawaii. We have first Panchatattva in the society Prabhupada installed, Honolulu. He was their Pujari. And then in the early 80s, he went to Juhu, and he became Pujari for Sitaram. Narottam told me about it. He was Sitaram's Pujari. Then, kind of like me at my age, about 33, 34, he just disappeared. He went to Brazil almost over 25 years. He married one girl, wasn't a devotee, had a child, son. And 2 years ago, he turns up at the Hawaii temple, coming right from Brazil, just from living a household life, no temples, no. And he came right into the grounds. I'm there, I'm involved in management, and knowing me, and I was so happy to see him. He was really nice. And he said, I want to be the Pujari, which you say that in Hawaii, everyone will be very happy because we were desperate for Pujaris. So I said, sure. He said, I need my room. He said, I want to know that I can have that room for the rest of my life and be the Pujari here, which is a very unusual thing for anyone to say. But he said it and he kept saying it. I want to be sure I can have my room. No one's going to kick me out. If you knew Hawaii Temple, you'd also understand his feelings. Little insecure. People come and go there very often. So I guaranteed, I said, no problem, this is wonderful. You know. And he took it on full time, of course, and it's not easy, needs a lot of help. So this went on for almost 2 years. And he was serving the deity one morning, just 2 weeks ago. And he felt very dizzy. So he left the altar, he went in, there was downstairs, he went into a little bathroom, water in his face, and he had apparently had like an aneurysm, and fainted, collapsed. He laid there for 2 hours until one devotee lady found him. He was conscious, and he said, get a man. Said, a male devotee came, took him to the hospital. Anyway, within a week, he was gone. He had blood in his brain, they drained it. It happened again, they drained it, they took some of the brain matter, but anyway, he had severe damage. But I spent the last few days with him. But it was just a miracle. Krishna just brought him back. I mean, from not being in a temple environment for 25 years, he just wanted to serve the deity. And whether it was his own desire or was his guru and super soul inside just making him do it because he didn't have much time. He didn't have much time left. I've heard that before. Prabhupada say that. There's not much time left. Do all the service you can. The warning was there, and that's what he was doing. After 2 months he had living there, he brought his son there, 25-year-old boy. Wonderful. He's stringing garlands for the Panchatattva now. Huh? He wants to be a Pujari like his father. He's not even initiated. But this is what happens. You know, it's not that we just do these things and we just hope and hope. You have to see what's happening right in front of you. I saw it. I saw Prabhupada bring him into the temple. I saw the Panchatattva bring him back. They didn't even give him a choice. He had no choice but to serve them constantly. So this is our future. But you have to stick around. Don't get tossed out into hurricanes and tornadoes. Take shelter of Prabhupada, his disciples, your godbrothers, godsisters. That's why we're here. That's why the temples are being built. Not just so we have another building. No, it's for all of you to come, thousands of you. You know, now you may be hundreds, a few thousand. It's going to grow more and more. You know, and you know, there's going to be another airport temple down on the other side soon. You know, you'll be competing with them to bring people here. This is it. This is what Prabhupada saw. He never saw an end. Just constant expansion, rapid expansions, and to keep us busy. As Ambarish said to me many years ago, you give your money to Krishna. He said, then you'll be thinking about Krishna all the time. So all he does is think how people are spending his money for Krishna. Such a saint. So many saints, Vatantra, Krishna took them. Ambarish, a unique devotee. And it shows he's an example. Most exalted. Prabhupada named him Ambarish Maharaj. What more does he have to say to let us know such a personality he is? But he's the most humble personality. He's not puffed up. Because he's realized. Like Prabhupada was not puffed up. He walked like a king. And then he would bow down before the deities. And you'd think, how both things, they're like so incongruous. But you saw it in Prabhupada, total humility as he walked like the king of the world. People falling down, throwing flowers, and still he was humble. But his head didn't down, his head was straight forward, looking straight forward. That's a devotee. Huh? So we have to aspire to be around such devotees. That's what we want. And that's Prabhupada and his disciples. You look for those that inspire you and take inspiration. It was very simple. I'll stop here for now, and Kusa Devi, you can. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
There's one cordless also.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, yes. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
She'll get it.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada and Jai all the assembled devotees, all belonging to Srila Prabhupada's family. This family belongs to you and you belong to it. I love the analogy about the bird formations. And the other day we were seeing many, and we were watching them for some time, and we were noticing that the person in the front of the V didn't always stay there. He traded places with some of the others. It was like tag teaming, because it's not easy being the front person like all the time. So sometimes service means that we even have to take a spot in the front, because it's the place where the most pressure is coming. So Prabhupada in the early days, he would often take a globe of the earth and spin it. After he trained up maybe a householder couple for some time, he would spin the earth and he would put his finger down and say, "You should open a temple here." So being with Srila Prabhupada he was training all of us. Each and every single one of you is getting trained up to open a temple in your neighborhood soon. Prabhupada was a great pioneer of the world, creating these Krishna conscious centers, whether it was from under the tree at Tompkins Square Park, just chanting Hare Krishna, playing his kartals, just from such humble beginnings. If we're simply, like Prabhupada said, whatever you know about Krishna, you share that. You share that. Shyamasundar and Malati's daughter was so sweet, and Prabhupada said she preaches so nicely, because she would say, she was 2 years old, she would pull on your cloth and say, "Do you know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead?" And Prabhupada said she preaches so nicely, so nicely. So since Shruta spoke of my getting chastised with the cooking, I will tell you about it. But the one thing I will tell you is that when you get chastised by a person, your teacher, your guru, your leader, when you get chastised, you never ever forget it. And you might not remember the nice things, but you never forget when you get the sauce. And so that sauce is bittersweet nectar, because I've been a devotee now 50 years, and you never forget the chastisement. But it's like the finest thing, old as gold. You never forget it. It becomes like a badge of honor. I was chastised by my guru. And it becomes like real nectar. It's like Prabhupada said, happiness in the mode of goodness may be like poison in the beginning, but in the end it is nectar. And we're in an eternal life, so the end is forever. So realize when we're doing this, whatever austerity, something is a little difficult. Actually, we're being prepared for a forever of joy, of bliss in Krishna consciousness. The higher taste is there. It's right there. When you're enduring difficulty for a higher purpose, you will get such a sublime effect. Your life will become glorious. This is the life Srila Prabhupada has set up for us. Like myself, I was born and raised in the Hawaiian Islands. Beautiful islands. Everyone wants to go on their honeymoon in the Hawaiian Islands. And I'm wanting to go to Vrindavan, because this is where the real nectar is, where Radha and Krishna's pastimes are taking place, not this temporary place where rotting flesh, they're enjoying some romantic interlude for one moment and fighting the rest of their lives. This is not the program. Prabhupada said, what is the program? The plan is for eternal bliss. I came for that, I admit it. I came with the flawed consciousness. I didn't want to suffer, and I wanted to enjoy forever. But there's a price. It's full surrender. And that surrender is to belonging to Krishna. And Krishna is belonging to us, and Prabhupada is pulling us along with him. So even if you get chastised, it's sweet. It's the bittersweet nectar for which we're always anxious. So I got to cook for Srila Prabhupada, which was really nice. And I learned during that particular episode of cooking jackfruit, I would never try it again. Now, although I heard in Bengal they have some special processes that are really much easier, so I might now that I've learned some tricks. But at that time, we only knew the oiling of everything. Oiling, so you're covered with glue, very sticky. I wasn't that strong. It's like, takes a lot of strength to cut the jackfruit. So I was learning many things that I didn't even know how to cook. I was learning during that particular episode. And I was spending a lot of time down in Chinatown trying to source out these unique kinds of vegetables that weren't in the normal marketplace. Because Srila Prabhupada liked things like drumsticks, the moringa, he liked things that we weren't familiar with. So, and I was learning what does he like and how to cook it all at once. And so I got into a mode of sort of overdoing it, like getting too excited and just, so what did I do? I oversalted. So Prabhupada, he tastes, it was too much salt. He said, tomorrow, no salt. I can add. No salt. You put no salt. I was like shaking, like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm poisoning my Guru Maharaj, too much salt. And so I did no salt. So he said, if you just add a little, it's no problem. But the worst part was the next morning in Bhagavatam class, Srila Prabhupada speaks, there was something in the verse about over-endeavoring. And boy, it became like one of those things, when later he came out with Upadesh Amrita, and the second verse talks about don't over-endeavor, it's not good. So, but here he is in class, and I'm cringing, like, oh no, here it comes. Oh, Krishna. Prabhupada says, do not over-endeavor. If you over-endeavor, you can spoil everything. And he said, it's just like over-salting the food. I was just like, Krishna knew how to take any little thing. Prabhupada could take whatever you did and make more service out of it than you even knew possible. I thought, oh, this is a great disservice. Well, he used it in Bhagavatam class as an example. So I was like, oh, just see how Prabhupada's rectifying my problem as now using it as a preaching example. But I would never forget that, never forget that. And so I took it on as kind of a mission in my life. This must be some problem with my sadhana. I might be... So I constantly have been monitoring myself. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because sometimes we start out doing our seva very sincerely, but we get a little name, a little fame, we get a little puffed up. Now we're doing it because we're getting a name and a little fame and we're getting puffed up. So we have to immediately recalibrate ourselves, rebalance ourselves, come back to the right state of consciousness, that I'm doing this out of love for Srila Prabhupada and love for Krishna. I want to express my love for Krishna. And we have to preach to ourselves something. We have to preach. Why am I doing this? Not because I have to do more and more and more. Where is the mood of devotion in my action? We have to add that. Krishna doesn't need our service. Prabhupada didn't need my service. But it's the love. Srila Prabhupada was teaching us to add love and devotion to our actions. Even our actions are not much different from everyone else's actions. But we have to add that love into it. And without which it's not bhakti. It's not united. It's not linked. And even Shruta, he was telling me one time I was doing some, and I was really stressing because I wanted it to be perfect. I'm the doer after all. This is my Maya. And he said, no, nobody wants you to suffer. Just do what you can. Do what you can with love. Everyone will be happy. But if you're stressing, because no one is looking for our individual perfection. They're looking for the bhav. They're looking for your feeling. They're looking for how is the mood of your service. That's what's attractive. That's going to attract Krishna. That's going to attract all the other, because if people say, oh, look, those people work really hard. Do you think they're going to be attracted just because we're working hard? No, it's the feeling of family. Prabhupada said society, friendship, and love. We're together. Many hands make light work. Srila Prabhupada said this. If we're in that mood of camaraderie and relishing service together, isn't that the most attractive thing? Yeah. So let's belong to the most attractive thing. That action that's promoting love of one another, love of Guru, love of Radha and Krishna. Let's join and stay in that V formation and change. Sometimes, like, even the temple president might be a lot of pressure that he's like always the captain of Bhav all the time. You join in his Bhav and you share in it. You give him a break once in a while and you get in the front of that V formation and you let him coast a little bit, right? Wouldn't you like a little coasting? And when we stay in the group, the momentum of that whole group just carries us, and we're just flying. We can go long way like that. Long. But if we're doing all the flapping and all the hard work, it's going to be a really small group. Nobody's going to be attracted to, oh yeah, they're real austere. They work real hard. Think about it. You're going to sell that way? No. Eternal bliss. This is what we're all looking for, in the connection. And when we're connected to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, we can coast and relish this process of devotional service. So there's some issues sometimes we get in. I'm a woman, so 50 years of devotional service as a Western woman in Krishna consciousness. Think about it. And sometimes and I also come from a place where there's kinds of racial bias. You know, I have a Hawaiian background, and there's all these Caucasians that came and invaded our place, and so there's division. But Prabhupada, think about the name in ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And Lord Chaitanya's movement, where he abolished all separations, all castes, all creeds, all genders, all separations, and he taught Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. You may have your bhav, it might be a little different from my bhav, but it's simultaneously one and different. We're individuals. That's because we're people, we're persons. We have a lot of similarity, but the uniqueness is, Prabhupada said, variety is the mother of enjoyment. And we say spice of life in the West. But if we don't have variety, if everybody brings rice to the potluck dinner, if you have a rice feast, you know, okay, we have panihati, but we can make something out of anything, actually, devotees, you know, we can do, that's the amazing thing about devotees. Like Sanatan Goswami, Madan Mohan was complaining, I need a little salt in my chapati. But he got it himself. He had a salt barge run aground so he could have unlimited amounts, and had a temple built at the same time. The Lord doesn't need us to do anything. He'll do everything. We just have to show up and happily celebrate the fact that Krishna's doing everything. That's all we have to do. So are you ready to show up? Yeah, and ready to share with everybody how easy this process is? It really is easy. It really is. 50 years later, I'm still here, a white woman in Krishna consciousness, against the odds. It's against the odds. But still relishing Krishna consciousness, even though the body is infirm, it's feeble, it's a little harder to do all these things. But if I wasn't in Krishna consciousness, I would still have a weak, infirm body, not even able to enjoy in any way, but I get to enjoy Krishna consciousness. At this age, it is the most ecstatic thing. I feel so sorry for those who are old and don't have Krishna consciousness. What do they have? And so in this world, what we have to share with society at large, with each and every individual, Krishna consciousness is the bliss. It is the bliss. It takes you through everything. And it makes you look death in the face and you shake his hand and you say, thank you, I get to go to Krishna now. Who does that? Who gets, I see my Mata, she's 88, and she's really, you know, I'm spending some time with her now and talking to her about reincarnation and talking to her about eternal life, and she had 2 pains the other day and rushed to the hospital. This is what regular people have to look forward to in old age. We have so much to look forward to in old age. They say old is gold, and in Krishna consciousness it is. So remember Krishna, never forget him, and keep belonging, and bring all your friends, anybody you know, whoever you care about and love, share this blissful Krishna conscious process with them so they have a great life. Are there any questions? Hare Krishna.
And Hare Krishna, just one addition to the salt story. And no, it just shows you how things happen within our society, because when Prabhupada said that, gave a very specific instruction, but as it filters down from, did you hear what happened? Prabhupada told her not to put salt in there. And then finally, by the time it hits the West Coast, it's, we're not supposed to put salt when we cook. So we'll go from one little thing. Prabhupada said, don't use salt, and none of us could use salt. So they would get cleared up, but that's how things could happen. But Prasadam is a wonderful topic, and chastisement. I was going to tell, there were the two stories. And the chastisement, as she says, is the best. It's this memorable. Like I say, so many things I don't remember, but I can pretty much remember each. I was chastised, different levels, but I certainly remember the shouting ones. And Prabhupada would shout sometimes. He would definitely could humble you. But you always understood later it was really for your benefit, because we weren't being humble.
Remember when he knew exactly how many puris you ate?
Yes. In the humble thing, who's been to Radha Damodar temple? How many been to Radha Damodar temple? Seen Prabhupada's rooms there. So when you go up on the veranda and sitting room on the right, how thick is the wall? It's like yay thick, right? So, and it's about that high. And then you walk into a room. It's not like you opened the door. It was a door, but the door was this high. So you would literally kind of, bend down and go in. So Prabhupada would ring his bell. I was fast, sometimes too fast. So that was the one time I went in, and he's sitting right at his desk. It's a very small room. And I come in, and of course I lift my head up way too early. And I slammed in the solid concrete ceiling up right above the wall. And Prabhupada went like that. and then he said, "That's to make you humble." So, it's good, humble hurts. What do we say? No pain, no gain. It is, it's a painful process. Sometimes literally painful, but then we moved along. But one of those days at Radha Damodar temple, imagine, Prabhupada brought me to his rooms at Radha Damodar temple, and so many amazing things happened. Before I was even chastised there, it was my first time in India, my first time I stopped at Delhi, and he arrived in Vrindavan for Kartik, the entire month of Kartik, the only time since establishing ISKCON that he remained in Vrindavan for the entire month of Kartik, and he was very determined to do it. And very first day we're there, I learned a new thing. I wasn't going to cook for him. I've been with him a month. I cook for him every day. Wherever we were, Dallas cooked for him, Los Angeles cooked for him, Hawaii cooked for him. Went to some motel in the Philippines, have to figure out how to cook for him wherever we were. That was my service. Now we get to Vrindavan. Who was in Vrindavan? Jamuna. No question who's going to cook for Prabhupada. He's been tolerating mine for the last month. Never said it, never complained, but now Jamuna was there. And in the morning, she was already cooking. And she was had so much devotion. When I saw the things she was doing with no facility, she had a bucket stove, Vrindavan bucket stove. She had the cow dung patties. This is how she was cooking things. She had a little thing you could put on top of the stove that made it like an oven. I remember one day she made baked apples. She cored it out, and in the center there was the, cloves and sugar and raisins, and I was like, wow, So, and I would watch her rolling chapatis. As soon as I said, it was like, Mother Yasoda, there she was, Mother Yasoda, because she was a little full, sitting there just so wonderfully and rolling. You could just see her on the floor. Everything was on the floor, no tables. This was Prabhupada's kitchen area. So the first day, I'm not cooking. I don't even know what to do now. I went from being so busy as we're traveling, and it was the only time I actually chanted 64 rounds a day during Kartik at Radha Damodar temple. So Prabhupada had his sitting room, and the other side of the veranda was his kitchen, and where he did his translating work. I'm sure you've all seen the photographs. So Prabhupada left his sitting room. I would just sit on the veranda. That was my room, was the veranda. So I'd be sitting there, I'd offer obeisances, and then he would go in. And I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't with him. I was used to being with him, and I hadn't even looked inside that room yet. I saw through the screen door, I saw Jamuna. But curiosity, as we say, curiosity got the best of me. I'm sitting chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I just went to the door, screen door, and it was kind of darkish in there, because it was very shaded. So I look in, and of course, as soon as I look in, it's just this, like a pie-shaped room almost. It's like this big, you know, like that. And Prabhupada saw me, and Jamuna's on the stove, and as soon as he saw me, he said, "Come on, take prasadam." That was something I never heard before or after. But we're there, Radha Damodar Temple, Prabhupada's taking prasadam at that most sacred place. And he said, "Come, take prasadam." And of course, no, Prabhupada is, you know, a spiritual master. I mean, he's Prabhupada. You're not going to sit with him and eat. He always ate alone. He went on programs, then he would sit with the group. But he always took prasadam alone. Sat on the floor and he faced the wall. That's how he ate prasadam. On a little choki table. On a straw mat. No cushions, nothing. Every day. Didn't matter where he was. Vrindavan, that's what it looked like. Of course, it was Vrindavan. But Bhaktivedanta Manor was the same, even though it was much more opulent. He sat on the floor, faced the wall. And if people were in the room when I came and brought the plate and put it on his table, devotees, he would go. And he'd say, he'd give him something. Say, "Now you can go." He wasn't going to sit and continue a discussion while he ate prasadam. And now he's telling me, "Come." So the second time, "Come on," he said. "Have you eaten?" "No, Prabhupada." "Come." "No, Prabhupada." And this is the first time I learned this. We say the third time. So many third time things happen. Prabhupada said something third time. It means you just, and I learned to surrender after the first time after that, not to make him say something 3 times. To me that wasn't, I was making him do more. I thought that's not my service, I just do what he wants. So the third time he said, "Come sit down." And Prabhupada, he was sitting on a little, had a little asan he was sitting on. And immediately Jamuna, she was amazing, and she had no false ego in her. She didn't have any false ego. Whatever Prabhupada wanted, that was fine, perfect. There's a reason I said that. I'll tell it after. So I'm sitting down. She gets me a little mat to sit on, brings the thali, the katoris, boom, 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 starts bringing, I was not used to any of this. We, devotees in the West, they would sit on the floor, roll out sheets of wax paper and throw rice, dal, khichdi, whatever, on a sheet of wax paper in some of these temples. This is how we did things. This is what you call crazy. This is fanatic. See, this is taking things to such an extreme that people just see you're crazy. You're eating off a piece of wax paper that's sticking to the floor. But we were austere. And we saved a lot of money for the temple president, so we got benefit for that. But now I'm sitting here and Jamuna's doing things the way it's supposed to happen. She's serving me like I was Prabhupada. And she was Jamuna, and I was no one. I was a little kid. She was 10 years older than me. She's been a devotee for 7 years, which was forever. When you're around for a year, 7 years, they're senior most people. But she's serving me, because Prabhupada said, and because she liked to. And I put my hand in the chapati, wonderful chapati, cooked on cow dung patties, wow. Took it and put it in some vegetable, and I realized I didn't know how to cook at all. Jamuna, she was such a wonderful cook. I sat with Prabhupada in that place. It never happened. Such a thing you couldn't even dream of doing such a thing. But he let me do it because he was Prabhupada. So for the next 15 minutes we sat quietly, not a word was spoken. I learned that. We just honored prasadam. And Prabhupada was finishing, and he ate masterfully, it was like a chess match. I see, everywhere I see Tulsi table, chess boards, So that popped up. That's how he ate, he would mix the, Prabhupada was expert. He was raised, he was a Calcutta boy, had a dal, and he loved chapatis. Even though he was Bengali, he loved chapatis, Prabhupada. So he started with them, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then he opened up the rice container. Then he started mixing everything with the rice. I'm saying it was like a portrait watching a meet, So many things were going on. So then he looked at me. He said, "Did you like?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada, very much." He said, "Good." He said, "Now tomorrow you cook for her." It's funny, but not so funny. It's true. This is Vaishnava, And I was a brahmachari, God forbid a brahmachari cooking for a woman. That would be, it's worse than going to hell, right? No, Prabhupada said, tomorrow you cook for her. I didn't cook for her. She wouldn't let me cook for her, and it would have been a disservice for me to cook for her. I should have been watching her every day. That's what I should have been doing instead of chanting 64 rounds thinking I was a devotee. I should have learned how to cook properly to serve my spiritual master, That's what she did. 3 years later in Krishna Balaram Mandir, Prabhupada's lying in bed, 1974. We thought he was going to leave us then. For weeks he had laid there, not eating. And one evening, it's like 8, 9 in the evening, he rang his bell. He said, "You make me some upma." I said, "Yes, Prabhupada." I said, Jamuna, she was right behind the door. Her, Daiva Shakti, whoever was on the other side of the door, they were literally against the door. Because you want to hear that transcendental sound vibration. Whatever it was, it could cough, a sneeze, it could be yelling. Didn't matter, you just wanted to hear transcendental sound from the lips of a pure devotee. Because it's priceless. It's priceless. So I said, "Oh, Jamuna's here." He said, "No, I want you to do it." Imagine. He said, "I like how you make upma." So he wanted me to do it. So of course I was delighted and bewildered. Jamuna, she's the queen of cooking. And I opened the door. And what did he say? "Well, Prabhupada." I said, he wants upma. And Jamuna right there, she said, "Okay, I'll get right on it." And I said, "Jamuna," I said, "he wants me to do it." He said he likes my upma. "Okay," she said, "what do you want me to do?" Like, bam, just like that. Not, I'm Jamuna, I'm supposed to be cooking for Prabhupada. I got a cookbook this big coming out soon, This is my service. No, just wanted to serve her spiritual master, and if it meant helping me make upma, she was prepared to do it. She said, "What do you need?" She said, "We don't have a lot." And she just got into the whole thing. Just total enthusiasm to serve any way possible. Not that I'm the temple president, I don't wash pots in the kitchen. They need washing. I saw Prabhupada bring his GBC man to tears when he said, "Why aren't these pots clean?" He said, "Well, there isn't anyone to do it now." He said, "What about you?" Yeah. Don't ever think you're more than a pot washer, because you're not. We're all just pot washers, glorified pot washers. Prabhupada's giving us the opportunity to do something. But actually, and me, well, you can ask my wife, I love washing pots. I'll sit at the kitchen sink, if my back could handle it, I'll wash dishes all the time, clean the sink. I have OCD, I like things clean. That's not bad. That's actually, Prabhupada like things very, very clean. So in that way, I'm just showing Jamunas, this is how devotees see things. This is how they think. It's not a me, me, me. It's a he, he, he. Hawaii, there's a big bumper sticker. I never knew what it was for the first year or two. It had a capital H a capital E, and then it had this arrow thing, and then it had a small letter I. And I'm always thinking, I thought it was some Hawaiian word or something that I wasn't allowed to understand. Till I finally saw a devotee had it on the back of his phone, and I said, what are you doing with that? He says, oh, it says he in capitals, which meant God greater than I. Very simple. It was simple once I knew what it meant. It is very simple, see, but we make things complicated. Krishna consciousness is very easy. Prabhupada would say, it's easy for the simple, difficult for the crooked. So don't make it crooked. You know, be simple, nice, humble devotee. All right, we'll just tell this puffed rice story and then I'll be done. So there in Mexico, Prabhupada told that woman, what if I can't remember Krishna? What if I can remember you? He said, that's all right. This is our business. Prabhupada's so easy to remember because he's given us everything. Krishna is, you know, I can read Krishna book and be happy and feel some bliss and all, but Prabhupada, I was with him, I massaged him, I cooked for him. I mean, I know him a little bit. I know some things about it, so I can feel that. Yeah? You can feel it because you know I was with Prabhupada. If I told you, I tell you a Krishna book story and all, we'll get happy. We'll feel good. Krishna. I would read Krishna book to Prabhupada, he would laugh. Tears coming out of his eyes. I never did that. But Prabhupada's right there, you know. You can be right there. But we can be right there with Prabhupada so easily because he's with all of you, each and every one of you. He's guiding all of us. You just take him. Feel him. Like she said, serve him, talk to him. He's your grandfather. We all know that's how that goes. So I'm on the plane. This woman, perhaps, that Mexican lady, she made Prabhupada puffed rice and peanuts. Muri, one of Prabhupada's favorite from his childhood. He remembered his mother making the puffed rice in the wok, puffing the rice in the wok. He described it to me. So that's what we took on the flight. It was just a 3-4 hour flight. But as I said, prasadam, very, very important. We were on a plane 1 hour, 5 hours, 20 hours. We always had a bag of prasadam with us that was made. Nice airplane prasadam, you know, pakoras, paratas, puris, dry sabjis, puffed rice. But always, when you were with Prabhupada, you never worried about getting your next meal. That was a good thing. When you were with Prabhupada, you knew you were going to eat 3 times a day because he ate 3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, and an evening meal, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Sometimes he would have puris, potato and eggplant sabji, a glass of hot milk, and sandesh, 9 o'clock at night. An hour later, you'd be massaging him. 2 hours later, he's translating Srimad Bhagavatam. Who can do that? Not me. And sometimes he would say, give me puffed rice tonight. Last night, he said, I had a hard time getting up to translate. So maybe he got up 1 o'clock instead of 12:30. But for him, that was enough to make him change his diet. Everything's about your service. Even for the pure devotee, he's just thinking how to serve. And he adjusts everything to maximize it. So as soon as the plane's in the air, it's a South American airline or Mexican airline, the plane's up in the air, we say, the seatbelt sign goes off, it's time to grab the bag of prasadam. Prabhupada's ready. Because that's what you do on a plane. What else can you do? You eat. You take prasadam and you chant. There's nothing else to do. So I put table down, I put my table down, I open up the bag. There's nothing in it but puffed rice in a thing of aluminum foil. No chapatis, no puris, no anything, puffed rice. And a lot of puffed rice in aluminum foil. So I open it up and I put it in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada starts eating, you know, and it's, again, the way everything he did was like a like, you just wanted to watch it. It was like, because he was so different than everyone else. All of his movements, they looked perfect. Even how he chewed his food, I always say, his mother would be so happy seeing he chewed and chewed. Prabhupada would chew that prasadam. Because we know digestion, see again, Ayurveda. Prabhupada didn't talk Ayurveda, he lived it. You touch food, that's the first thing, goes right to the head. You already know what you're doing. You've already started digesting it, tasting it before it even hits your mouth, because you're eating with your hand, not with some metal spoon that's been eaten from thousands of times. No, your hand, boom. He chew. I just watch him, because it was fun to watch. And he did it, like I tried. He had a way he could push things in, without it falling down. I was never very good at that. You need a bib. But he would push it in, So he finished half of it. See, now, again, why did he eat half of it? Because he has myself sitting next to him, and next to me is Paramahamsa Swami. There's nothing else to eat. So Prabhupada left it for us. Because he loves us. Because that's what you do. You don't just gobble it. I do that sometimes. My wife, she'll say, did you leave me anything? I'll go, whoops. No, because I was lusty and I really liked it and I ate all of it. Sorry. No, Prabhupada didn't do like that. He left it for us because he was a gentleman. We also got the benefit of eating Maha Prasadam. I mean, whew. So I moved it. He just sits there. Doesn't talk. Prabhupada never talked unnecessarily. He didn't talk just to break silence because he felt uncomfortable. It was too silent. No, he could not talk in front of you for a long time. You do what you want. He's doing what he wants, I sat on plane with him for, a day, 24 hours. He might not say anything. Just sit and chat. So I put it in front of me, and Paramahamsa puts his table down, and I break it in half, to rip the aluminum in half, and I put half, he gets half, I get half. And now we start eating. I don't even remember prayers, anything. You're with Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't make scenes either. You didn't ever hear him chanting Hare Krishna on a plane. He was trying to educate everyone or purify everyone. No, it was quiet. Prabhupada was quiet. He ate quietly. He didn't say, go up and get me a washcloth. No, just simple. Everything's simple. Not like, oh, I gotta wash my hands. How am I going to eat? No, somehow or other, he just ate. He sat there, he took prasadam. And when he was done, he just waited until it was an opportunity to get up and use the bathroom and wash. But for now, he was content. He's sitting there. And Paramahamsa and I, we're very happy now. We're eating Prabhupada's. We're happy because we're eating. Being Maha Prasadam, we're with Prabhupada for years. You don't even realize what's going on, Imagine. I still have some rice. I still have rice. Kusa gave it to me from Prabhupada's plate, which she cooked for him in 1975. Imagine, I gave a piece of it to Svatantra. Oh, wow. Yeah, a piece I gave to him. Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam, I put it in his mouth just before he died. Wow. I hope someone does that for me. So, now we're eating very happily, honoring, and we weren't, you wouldn't watch me eating like you could watch Prabhupada, and, it was tasteful watching Prabhupada. Me, I was just eating. And the stewardess, young stewardess, she's walking down the aisle, and we're like this. So we're very different. This is 1975. Most people on the plane, all of them, they never even seen us. Shaved heads, tilak, saffron. I was in white. So she walks by, and she literally stops right in front of us. And we're eating, and Prabhupada didn't get involved in anything around him. He was very, kept to himself, insulated. But she stops, and she reaches onto my plate, past the person on the aisle, Paramahamsa, right onto my plate, and she grabs puffed rice, and she puts it in her mouth. if that's not a miracle, there's no such thing as miracles, because that was super soul. And then she looks at me. Paramahamsa's still eating. Prabhupada's ignoring it. And she looks at me and she said, "This is very nice." She said, "What is it?" I'm in total shock because she just ate from my plate. And we came here on Indigo. And the Indigos are very, I guess, far out, they're trying, helping women empowerment. And it said they were offering jobs to young women between 18 and 25 or 27 that, are inspired, people persons and all these things. So, of course, right away I thought, well, what about the men? If this was the USA, all the men would be suing the airline that we're not getting the job, you're only offering it to women. This is how the world's become. But, yes. Anyway, back to the prasadam. So she just grabbed it. It was absolutely a miracle. And she liked it. She said, "It's very good. What is it?" "Well, it was Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam. That's what it is." But I said, "It's puffed rice." She says, "Well, why are you, who are you? What do you?" I said, "Well, we're vegetarian." And she said, "Oh." She said, "Do you want anything else?" She said, they weren't even serving. She said, "I can go to first class." She said, "If you, I looked at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Hot milk." So then I said, "Hot," because Prabhupada didn't say it to her, he said it to me. I always say this, he would talk to me and I would talk to the other people. I was a translator from spiritual to material. I got to do the translating. So I said, "Hot milk," and of course, we'll all have hot milk, because whatever Prabhupada did, well, whatever he ate, we would eat. Not that whatever he did, because he slept 3 hours, but I slept much more than that. But when it came to prasadam, we would do whatever he did, and then more. So she says, "Anything else?" Prabhupada, "Anything else?" Fruits, she said, "Fruits." Prabhupada, "Yes, yes." So anyway, she leaves. Paramahamsa's still eating. He's happy. And I turned to Prabhupada. I said, "Prabhupada, that was amazing." Meaning she's grabbed your Maha Prasadam and ate it. We would fight to get to Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam. When I went around, it was a fight. And this woman just got to do it. And Prabhupada answered, he said, "Women have a natural tendency to serve." But he was talking about her going up and bringing us back fruit and milk and bread and cheese. He wasn't talking about what she did, because to him that was not something he was going to talk about. He just expressed how they like to do service. He said it's easier for women to become Krishna conscious because they have a natural service attitude. I actually have a natural service attitude because I was raised by women. I didn't have a father. He died when I was a baby. So I had a mother and 2 older sisters. And I learned that because that's what they were like. They were serving, They were Italian ladies. That's all they did was serve their husbands and their children and cook, and clean. That was, yes, sorry.
I have to interject here, a big interruption, because I was sitting in Vrindavan one year, and that girl who was the stewardess on that airplane was in Vrindavan, a devotee, telling us she was the girl who grabbed Prabhupada's...
That's where I was getting to.
Sorry, I had to jump to the...
So that was that. So it was 20 years later, in 1995, I'm at a Prabhupada festival in Los Angeles, and I was speaking. I spoke for a couple hours, and at the end, one devotee came up to me, and he said, "Can I tell you a story?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, we were doing Sankirtan down in South America, Mexico, all of that. He said, we would go in jeeps, because they were going to the villages. They'd go to one place after another, and it was like old style. Not so much here in Europe, you see it a lot. There's town center. There's always a fountain in the center like that, and be cafes around, so people congregate. So they would do the Harinam there. And then they would hop back into the vehicles, and you drive from one farm or ranch to the next. So he approached one house, and he opened the door. And the woman is in there, and she says, "Hare Krishna." What? He says, you're a devotee. She said, yes. And she invites him in, and her home is like a devotee home, you know, pictures. And he said, well, how did you meet the devotees? And she said, I was a stewardess. And she was the woman who put her hand in my plate and took Prabhupada's Mahaprasadam. So from there, what did she tell you anything more? What happened?
It was the same thing, but...
Yeah, so that was that. So from nowhere, here's a God brother that shows up at her door, because there aren't any coincidences. There are no accidents. And just for the inspiration of the two of them, Prabhupada brought them together for association and to show them miracles happen. They're right in front of you. You can see them every day if you just believe it, if you just understand Krishna. And it's going to be how you see him at first. You're not going to see a blue boy in front of you playing a flute. You're going to have to learn how to see Krishna in this whole creation. Right? That's it in Bhagavatam. You start at the beginning. The beginning is, this is Krishna. That's what Prabhupada would smell the flower and say, this is Krishna. He didn't say, Krishna made this smell. They're very different. He said, this is Krishna. It's personal. He's appearing in all of these things. When you eat that prasadam and taste that wonderful taste. She made prasadam the other day at the house. Woman said, I haven't tasted pasta this good my whole life. Because she cooked with devotion for Krishna. That taste enters there. Krishna's taste, he's putting that taste into everything. It's him. This is what Prabhupada showed us. He showed that woman very quickly. Imagine that. See, that's just a miracle. That's unheard of. You know, again, if something happened like that in a restaurant, you would sue the restaurant in the U.S. You know, you would sue them, putting their hands on. You'd throw out the whole plate. Somebody contaminated my plate. We didn't think like that. Prasadam is so miraculous. I'll tell you how you know how I became Prabhupada's servant? By eating prasadam. In New Vrindavan, I lived in New Vrindavan until I became his servant. And it was an austere place. Not as if it became more austere after I left. But they would cook, and it was just enough for everyone. And we would eat very quick and go back to work. But in that prasadam room, people would leave their plates crying. Prasadam, they would leave prasadam on their plates and they'd go back to work. And I was the kitchen person. I was in charge of the kitchen and I had to clean the prasadam room. I would eat prasadam, whatever they left, I ate off of everyone's plate because I knew prasadam was pure. Back then, you know, I knew it. Now I don't know if I would, I don't think I would do that anymore. But at the time, I was just this wild, young, crazy devotee, and I would eat everybody's remnants. I'm convinced that what gave me like an upper, that outlook on prasadam. I think it saved me, you know. Well, look what it did for Narada, you know. I mean, look how Narada. That's what you do. Anything you can do, any way. That's what Prabhupada taught me when he said, come eat. Don't say no. Someone offers you nectar, grab it. If you don't grab it, you don't know the next time it's going to be offered to you. So anybody offers you anything, just grab it and say thank you very much. Because that's what I learned to do with Prabhupada. I grab it and say thank you very much, Prabhupada. And he'd like to do it. Because we were doing service, he reciprocated. And just like Jamuna did service, Prabhupada told me, now you reciprocate. Now you serve her. Whether it was cooking or whatever. We serve each other. This is how we grew up. And she was called Jamuna Prabhu by Prabhupada. So whatever happens here in India really doesn't matter. You know, because Prabhupada did call us all of us Prabhus. And he said, I'm Prabhupada. And that's why we were Prabhus. Because he was the Prabhupada. He said, you're Prabhus under this pada. You're all under my protection. So he used it in that way for us little younglings there. You know, and therefore we did respect one another as a master. It didn't matter they were men or women, because that's how we got trained then. Because he knew, in your country, if I don't do things a certain way, we're never going to get anywhere. He told me that before the trip to Vrindavan. He said, I spread Krishna consciousness around the world because I made an adjustment. I allowed women in the temple. He said, I studied your country for a year. He said, I studied the people. He didn't just whimsically try. He said, I studied. He said, and I could understand if men and women aren't able to come together, it's not going to work. He said, but my godbrothers criticize me because I've allowed women in the temple. But because I did it, I made that adjustment, I'm successful. He said, I've been successful, but still they criticize. Even if I'm successful, he said, they criticize. He said, but you go to Mayapur. He said, who's in the temples? All the festivals. Widows, hundreds, thousands of widows, all women. He said, but me they criticize. Huh? See? That's what you call hypocrisy. That's called hypocrisy. And it's called envy. So I'm massaging Prabhupada behind him, this mustard oil. And he's talking to Burajan. He's telling Burajan, it says he's coming to India, he's going to India. And he knows this is what he's faced with. He's going to make sannyasis, he's going to give Brahman initiation, he's going to give Harinam initiation, and his godbrothers are going to criticize him. But he didn't care. He said, barking dogs. Prabhupada was successful. I said, so Prabhupada, what's the difference between making an adjustment and changing a principle? It was the most intelligent question I ever asked him. And he waited, and then finally, after it got quiet, he said, that requires a little intelligence. But even on the most basic level, he said, I studied for a year. How am I going to do this? And I'm sure he was trying. He was trying to see what was going to work. But he never changed the principles of Krishna consciousness. And that's what you've got to get from this temple. You have to learn what those principles are. You have to learn what the routine, that was the word I was looking for, the routine, he called it. The routine was 16 rounds, ISKCON sandwich. You know what the ISKCON sandwich is, right? Morning program, evening program. In the middle's your service. Not prasadam. Not an eating sandwich, it's a serving sandwich. And it's surrounded by the morning and evening program. That's the routine. So that's the principle that can never change. And you've got to do that. And as a temple will get bigger, the more you stick to the principle, the bigger the temple will be. The more the deities will be satisfied and served by everyone in the community. That's why they're coming. We're all coming to serve Rukmini Dwarkadish. And we're going to go serve Krishna Balaram and Radha Shama Sundar Gaur Nitai now. We're headed to Vrindavan very soon. Our vehicle will be here. But now we're here. I told Prabhu when this temple opens, of course all big devotees will be here, but I hope he has a place for me here by then. Come for that. And if I'm not here for the installation of Prabhupada, which no one knows about yet, I will be here shortly thereafter. Thank you very much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna, we are very grateful to Prabhuji and Mataji for this wonderful divine nectar with so many good instructions for all of us, and also so many wonderful pastimes, and they were so graphical and we could feel as if all the pastimes are happening in front of our eyes. They were so beautiful.
They are happening. That's what I saw with Prabhupada with Krishna book. They're happening in front of your eyes. You just have to see it. You know, it's described like the Gita. Well, how is he looking? Like a television. You just have to see it. And then you can really be there. I saw Prabhupada live it.
And today we relived it because of such a pure narration by Prabhuji and Mataji. So let's pay our gratitude to Prabhuji and Mataji by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. His Grace Shruta Kirti Prabhu Ji ki jai. Her Grace Kusa Mataji ki jai. Her Grace Vishakha Mataji ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna Prasadam ki.
Wonderful leader, keep him in your prayers.
Only seek mercy. Mercy, mercy.